Hey, I want to talk about data waste. A lot of people today are logging onto the internet and uploading their videos and photos to sites like Facebook and other social networking sites. I want to discuss what kind of impact all of this data has on the internet itself and how much of it we really need. Um, I just I made up a small graphic here just to kind of explain everything. The arrows on the left are the input, are the data that people are creating. And of course, a lot of times when people create data, they're making more than one copy. Like when you upload your photos to Facebook, you have a copy on your computer, and you have a copy on the Facebook site, which is stored on one of their servers. As you can see, it's one of the options you can store your data on, as well as physical media, which you can also get your pictures sent to you on CD, or you can put them on your portable flash drive, and of course save them on your computer. So now we have 4 copies of your picture already. And that's not that much data, really. A picture, maybe a megabyte nowadays. So if you have 4 copies of your picture, that's 4 megabytes. But say you take 100 pictures, that's 400 megabytes being taken up just by 100 pictures. And it's awfully wasteful considering you only need really one copy of it. You can make a copy to transfer at any time you need, but looking at the grand scheme of things, it's not so significant because you have the ability to store all this data. Especially with small things such as photos, you have plenty of space on your hard drive. Why not go ahead and use it? It's not like you can't delete it. But let's say what happens when you start recording GPS locations, such as lowjacking a car, to find out where it has been and where it is going by looking at data. It's going to send in a location at a certain time interval, and each bit of data it sends in is going to be unique. So you can't really delete it. You can't just kind of skip something and say he was here at the same spot, but because it was a different time. So you're going to need to store that data. So every single location, and while that might be very small, such as say maybe even a kilobyte, maybe a few kilobytes, it is going to take up some data. And considering you're taking one at a certain time interval, say that time interval is 1 second, well, you have 60 seconds in a minute, and you have 60 minutes in an hour, and so on. You can do the math. It adds up pretty fast. And if you're going to be making copies of this data, how are you going to be able to manage all that data? Well, a lot of it goes into being able to write programs that can analyze the data for you. There's no way you're going to be able to go through all of the data a GPS can provide you. There's just no way, especially if you're trying to monitor multiple people and trying to sync up where they were at certain times. It's just going to be too hard. If you use a database to query that data and find out certain constraints that you're looking for, yeah, of course it's going to be a lot easier. But of course, this data is going to have to be accessed by more than just one person. Say the government gets involved and they need to be able to know where someone was for the case of a jury trial. Say someone is needing evidence for a trial and they need to take it from somewhere else. They get the information from the database and they run the program, but the problem is now they have a copy of that information as well. And really, that's where we get our waste from, is just too many copies of data. And it's great for companies like Western Digital and Seagate who make the media. It's not so great for basically the internet and the network as a whole. You're really cluttering everything with a lot of data, a lot of duplicate data that doesn't need to be out there more than once. If you think about it, if you're transferring a file back and forth between one place, you just have one rate, one down speed. If you're copying that file from different locations, who knows? you could be copying this file unnecessarily several times. What needs to happen is things need to be standardized. You don't need 14 different databases that are terabytes, maybe petabytes large, that store the same information. What you need is excellent bandwidth, excellent speeds for your network, and a central standardized database. Now, a big problem with today's data networks is that sites like Facebook, MySpace, Friendster, and all these other little sites all require certain information, although they might have changed recently. You need to give things like your name, your address, your likes, your dislikes. That's a lot of information, and if you sign up for more than one of these sites, that same information is stored on however many different servers you signed up for. And really, is that necessary? I personally don't think so. What I see happening for the future of the network and the internet together is that there will be a more standardized data center, especially for personal information. The way the government's going with regulating, they want to get their hands on information, especially with this administration. They're trying to put some more control into the network and the government. So what's going to happen is the government is going to have this master database that other sites are going to be able to use to access your personal information if you give them that ability. Obviously, the most important concern is how secure will the government site be. I mean, obviously, even some of the most secure sites on the internet have been hacked before. I mean, even the government now is threatened from hackers almost daily. It has to be. There's so much important information that the government holds that, of course, people are going to be willing to try and get that through any means. And if a standardized database does occur, it's going to have to be the most secure information we possibly have. I couldn't imagine why people would want our information, but it never ceases to amaze me that they do. There's always new scams, and there's always reasons for people to need this information, and they'll do what they can to get it. If they're going on to Facebook now under a fake profile and become a friend of yours by false pretenses just to get your information, that seems like a whole lot more effort than just trying to hack a database. I don't know. But certainly using one database with a great backbone connection to the internet would help with a lot of the useless data that's flying around the internet, that's being stored on servers, that's being sent, that's replicated over and over for just no reason at all. And I know this video's really boring because it's not really a video, it's just an image I'm showing you. But I hope you get the idea from what I'm talking about. I'm actually kind of worried about this. Hopefully our network speeds can continue to increase to accommodate for such information. I really don't see it being too serious of an issue, although we never really thought about the same thing when we were starting out, just throwing all of our trash away, not recycling anything. And it's not so much about recycling data, it's just keeping it from being duplicate and being sent over the same network. There's really no point at all. But really there's no way to do it right now. I don't think the government's willing to try such a standardized database, and it might be suggested in the future, but I don't see it anytime soon. Maybe for another 15 to 20 years for something like that. It would take an awful lot of work and an awful big push. Something's going to have to give with the internet or the network to make it to where people will want this change. And just the way things are going now, it doesn't appear like that, but the government's getting more and more control of the network. You have no idea what their plans are for it now. All you know is they want control, and it's pretty obvious. And it's going to happen. It's going to be used for security measures as well. The government's going to be able to track pretty much anything you do, and that's their goal. I know you like being able to pirate movies and such things now, but really, in the end, it might be a better thing for us all, especially to catch those sick people who look for child pornography on the internet, those who host it, and other acts that are illegal on the internet that people involve in. It'll just be a much better way to control it. Although I'm not sure people are ready for that, but that's another discussion.